Redman is in the building, of course. Jersey's finest, all about them bars, marijuana smoker. Hey, PSA announcement. I need everybody go support. That's right, support my fucking state, my city. Heritage Hip Hop, a New Jersey media source that celebrates New Jersey hip hop worldwide. Facts. And we are celebrating our legends right here, Jersey, baby. Please subscribe to Heritage Hip Hop on social media. That is Heritage Hip Hop on social media. Jersey, you know I love you. Jersey, you know we got bars and we got music and we got legends all day. And if you believe in Jersey and you love Jersey like I do, support that Heritage Hip Hop on all social media platforms. This is Redman and I approve this message.
Salute to everybody joining me for this conversation. You know I like to have contrasting conversations on hip-hop. So this is going to be a very interesting critique. And I want to know what you think about this. First, welcome to the Mic Council on Heritage Hip Hop, where we discuss issues that affect the hip-hop community that go beyond beats and rhymes. Today's not like a what if or alternate universe type thing. It's more of a discussion on the culture. So I would like to know what you think. And before we get into anything, thank you for helping Heritage Hip Hop become one of the top 100 podcasts for hip hop. Thank you for everybody that supports. Thank you for everybody that listens. Thank you for everybody that's seeing what I'm doing with building this platform. So for those of y'all who don't know or you're new to this, please hit the like button, comment, share the video. Ask that you subscribe. If you'd like to donate to the cause, $ Heritage Hip Hop. All right? I did a show months ago about who affected or influenced the game more, Nas and Rakim. Very good response. I did another show called How the West Was Won, Kendrick Lamar and Ice Cube. Today, we're going to talk about why hip-hop just doesn't hit the way it does anymore. And that's because of the examples and losses of two men that have affected hip-hop in such a way that we'll never see anything like it again. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is dedicated to the memories of Tupac Shakur and Earl Simmons, a.k.a. DMX. In the words of my partner, B-Lou, R.I.P. the dog. See, hip-hop comes from God. That's what I believe. It's just the next phase of how we define how we talk to God. We talk about our emotions and our feelings. We have the blues. We have R&B. We have jazz, pop, soul, all these things, right? But hip-hop has been the youth's #1 means to show the world we exist. And when the youth goes through a beating, whether it be physical, spiritual, mental, physical, or emotional, it seems that there's going to be a backlash. There's going to be a cry out for help. In the civil rights era, that cry for help came with sit-ins, right? SCLC and SNCC, and these young groups who wanted to fight segregation, right? In the 80s, on a negative way. Well, no, let's go to the 70s. In the 70s, the youth got tired of singing and not swinging, and the Black Panther Party became really big, right? Off of the hills of the Nation of Islam, right? In the 80s, we saw the rise of street gangs. Pardon me. Very late when I'm doing this. I was inspired, so I got up late to do this. Street gangs came out, and when people got tired of seeing their friends get killed, and people got tired of Ed Koch. No, I think it was not Ed Koch. It might have been Ed Koch, but it was definitely Ronald Reagan running for president, going to the Bronx and telling people how they're less than nothing, and they took away all their stuff. That the youth wanted to get rid of the gang wars, start dancing and rapping, and put the guns down and use music as a way to express an identity that we do exist. Now, that's the framework of the body of hip hop. But as you know, spiritually, when it comes to a body or framework, you have a heart and a soul. And as hip hop evolved, it became the identity of inner city people, not only in America, it started in New York, but it went around the world. So anybody who dealt with oppression, anybody who dealt with hatred, anybody who dealt with not being afforded a fair chance in society, being given harsh realities. Pardon me. Oh, sorry, y'all. Being given harsh realities. They were given the opportunity to speak their piece and let the world know there's a problem. And America's number one problem has been dealing with racism, social injustice, inequality of all sorts, whether it be racism, ageism, sexism, economic disparity. Hip hop has talking about all that when it comes to police brutality, lack of welfare and economics, and harsh treatment. So hip hop talked about self destruction. Hip hop took on gang related activities and said we're all in the same gang. Hip hop went from just rapping in the party to street education, consciousness, gangster or reality rap, or whatever you want to call it. It took on so many forms that people took their headway to become the greatest of what part of hip hop they wanted to become. KRS One's the teacher. Ice Cube gave you street knowledge from giving you different perspectives of the game. Nas is the poet. Jay-Z is the hustler. Too Short was the pimp. I mean, everybody gave you something, right? But there were two MCs that gave us something that the world has never seen before. Let's focus on Tupac Shakur. Tupac, as you know, was a backup dancer. We all know the story. Backup dancer, got a chance to shine, started rapping, you know, hung out with Tretch. Shout out to the OG. Tupac is a superhero and a larger than life mythological character when it comes to hip hop culture. Pac is different when you look at his career because Tupac was the embodiment of the heart of hip hop. And if you look at the definition of heart, heart refers to one's emotions, passions, and volatile nature. The heart is often associated with feelings, emotions, and passionate desires. It also refers to one's will and the strength of their desires. In some contexts, the heart represents the core of one's being, a source of inner strength and compassion. Tupac was the heart of hip hop for a long time. I'm not saying he had the best music. I'm not saying he had the best beats, because I don't think he did. But the one thing you could not deny Tupac of was his passion. I remember the first time I ever heard Tupac album, Tupacalypse Now. I was a Tupac fan from the door. Instead of making music that was just, I'm gonna just make money and make it happen, he had Trapped, talking about how the inner city tries to keep a black man down. Yeah, Brenda's Got a Baby. When he came back with his new album, Strictly for My Niggas, he was talking about police brutality. Holla if you hear me. I mean, Pac then went to celebrating his people. Keep your head up. Tupac has so many stories about him standing up and talking about the community, being that he was Black Panther lineage. He wore his heart on his sleeve because he was loyal to who was loyal to him. Now, unfortunately, at the end of his career and life, that loyalty went to a hatred that made him walk down a path that was very vindictive that led to his demise. R.I.P. Tupac Shakur. Tupac, when he rhymed, you felt everything he said, no matter what the subject was about. One of my favorite songs to have a Tupac verse in it is I Gotta Get Mine, featuring R.I.P. MC Breed. Listen to that song if you never heard it. You have another song with Tupac and Above the Law. Let me see the name of that song again. Round around, wanna hang around with the underground, but wanna with the Mafia straight busting them. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. Tupac and Above the Law. And Money B. Shout out to Money B. One of them people for on the West Coast who we don't talk about enough. The name of the song is called Call It What You Want. It came out in 1993. Above the Law, Money B, and Tupac Shakur. Yeah. Pac always found himself around anybody, whether you're from the East, the West, Midwest, it don't matter. He was a person who, when you saw him and you heard him speak, you knew what it was because he put his all into everything he said. Hip hop lost a very important piece of itself when Tupac Shakur was murdered. And right now we have the trial of homeboy, I forgot his name, Keefe D. The trial of Keefe D going on where we're trying to figure out who really murdered Tupac. Because not only was the hip hop culture robbed of a great mind, we never got to see the heart of Tupac evolve. See, I'm calling people out when it comes to Pac. I call myself the original Pac fan. Because when I was playing Tupacalypse Now, ain't nobody want to mess with Pac. Everybody liked him in Juice, but they really wasn't trying to get into his music in my area. I'm telling you, I was the first one playing when my homies called Hard. That was my song. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing about the heart has ebb and flows. It goes up and down. It changes. We saw Pac go from a heartfelt man devoted to the community to a man full of vile. When he thought he was portrayed by his best friend, Notorious B.I.G. Rest in peace to him too. We saw a man talk about sleeping with a friend's wife. I wasn't there. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna say it's true or not. We went from a man who talked about loving the community to those niggas over there in the East Coast, they make fun of y'all. They be a dog and all that. And he was inciting something very wicked, right? Because he wore his heart in his sleeve. It was either you roll with me and we roll together, you with me or you not, right? As great as Tupac was as an orator, his downfall came from the wickedness that came from wearing his heart on his sleeve. And you know what? Him being with Suge Knight probably wasn't helpful. But if you think about what Pac went through with him wearing his heart on his sleeve, I think he was a Virgo, right? I don't know, but if you think about what he went through with wearing his heart on his sleeve, Tupac gave you not only what you asked for, but he gave you 10 times as much as you asked for because he went full swing with everything he felt. If he loved you, it seemed like he would go to the grave for you. But it seemed like when he didn't like you, he wanted to destroy you in every way possible. When Tupac Shakur's superhero moment for a lot of people is when 2 Atlanta police officers was beating on somebody and he pulled out a gun and shot the police officers and then got off. He saved a young man from being lynched by police officers. And then when they came to arrest him, he was sitting in his hotel room smoking a cigarette and they played Dear Mama when he got arrested, according to the Tupac documentary on Hulu. I wasn't there, I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is Tupac's heart was so big that it got a lot of y'all sucker niggas liking him because y'all like the evil in which he was showing. Look, I'm gonna keep it real. I've never been shot and I don't want to be shot. But I will tell you this. That has to be a crazy moment when the people you trust you think are the ones who shot you. And then how do you try to keep yourself safe and your mind safe after such a betrayal in your eyes? And because you wear your heart on your sleeve, everything you do is geared towards destroying them and protecting yourself. That's a very hard thing. See, the one thing about the heart can be fooled. It can be loving, and it can be taken advantage of and become very vile. And Tupac perfectly captures the heart of hip hop. Because when hip hop is feeling you, it's all love, and people will love you to the depths of your humanity. But when it turns on you, the heart becomes so darkened so hard that it will not beat for you. It will beat to destroy you and go against you in everything you do. I never want anybody to hate me like that. And if you do, fuck you. But just the same way, I don't wish for any harm on you because now you're talking about the destruction of not only a man, but what comes from that man. Tupac was such the heart of hip hop that when he left, there's been a gaping hole in that direction of what hip hop is and how does it effectively reach that mark again. Thank God for Kendrick Lamar because with To Pimp a Butterfly, he got to talk to his hero, quote unquote, and it left us with something to think about with one of the most polished and deepest parts of creative poetry hip hop has ever seen. The heart, emotions. Let me see what it says again. The heart is emotions. The heart is disappeared. The heart is the heart is emotion. The heart is feelings, empathy, compassion. The heart is associated with joy, sadness, anger. While Tupac was making songs like Keep Your Head Up and Dear Mama, a lot of people will rather focus on Hit 'em Up, or this is the realest song that I wrote, or Hail Mary, throwing away not only that the man has a yin and a yang, a duality, people focused on the hardness of his heart instead of holding on to the love in his heart for children, women. Remember the song Wonder Why I Call You Bitch? Temptations. I mean, people left all that behind to be the gangster nigga. And unfortunately, we lost our hero and one of our greatest and brightest activists and minds in hip hop. My favorite Tupac verse of all time comes from Smile. You could pick verse one or verse two. I don't care. Smile, Fit Scarface featuring Tupac. Because Tupac perfectly captured his essence. And if you remember this one line in the song, it tells you how deep his heart was. He said, scared to drop a seed, hope I didn't curse my babies. That right there, from his lifestyle and what he believed in and what his heart was into, shows you how truly deep, special, and intricate Tupac is. To all the seeds that follow me, protect your essence, born with less, but you still precious. Come on, man. That's some of the most introspective, deep words that you could ever hear and give respect to. R.I.P. Tupac Shakur. But Tupac Shakur's heart is the reason why hip hop is trash today, and it fails. More on that later. What do y'all feel about DMX? Earl Simmons, aka DMX, RIP the dog, Rough Riders. When DMX came into the game, DMX was all, it wasn't heart, it was all emotion, it was all feeling. DMX would stir something inside of you that you couldn't take off. DMX was the type of person who talked about how he would fuck you up in the streets. And then he would pray to God on the same album, ask for forgiveness because he didn't like the life that he lived. DMX talked about in his career being his mom leaving him somewhere, getting smacked by her boyfriends. DMX talked about having only one friend in his life. That was his dog Boomer. He even tattooed the dog on his back. DMX was the epitome of soul. And how do we define soul? The soul is typically understood as the non-physical essence of a person, encompassing their spiritual nature, consciousness, and potential. Let's go a little deeper. The soul is about awareness and self-reflection. It talks about a person's innate potential for growth, learning, and spiritual development. The soul was DMX because DMX not only talked about his pain, he also wanted forgiveness for his pain and the pain that he gave others. That's why he prayed in every album. That's why he prayed in them concerts and moved people to tears. That's why he talked to Damien and looked for God to help him in it. DMX was different. I mean, when DMX first came out, when I first heard DMX, because people said DMX was rapping back in the hood, I wasn't there. But when people first heard DMX, get at me, dog. You want to be killers? Get at me, dog. I mean, DMX was killing it on Get At Me, Dog. If not, Higgins just started something. Come at me with that boys. You know what I mean? Because I went in the West, shit I did. It's like abortions. Like DMX had stuff. Like when you heard him, it was a whole different feeling to the song. Because DMX was different. No, it wasn't about his heart being on his sleeve. It was his presence that overshadowed the songs. My favorite DMX verse of all time comes from Usual Suspects, the Mike Geronimo song. DMX set the tone on the first verse. What's all the noise about? Have some respect. Shut the fuck up. Drive by, money talking issue. Back the truck up. You niggas don't respect me, but you fear me. But fear is better than respect. Y'all niggas hear me? When I tell you that presence was bigger than the song, DMX said he killed the song on the first verse. I ain't really need to hear much more because he did that. But not only that, think about Get At Me, Dog. If y'all weren't there when it first came out, y'all have no idea how deep that song is and what it means to the streets. Because Diddy, Glamour, and Glitz and all that was going on around that time. But when you saw Get At Me, Dog's video in black and white in the tunnel with Chic Lucha the locks on it, it was different. It wasn't gritty. I mean, it was gritty. It wasn't glittery and shiny. It was grimy. It was in the tunnel, for God's sakes. If y'all know what the tunnel is, do your history on New York City clubs. DMX was killing it. And I'm telling you, DMX, on his first 2 albums in the same year, not only showed the game what it is to have a work ethic, he gave the game what it missed. And that was the overall presence that reminded people of the struggle and how to overcome the struggle. Look, yo, we could talk about Get At Me, Dog, and all that, but there's 2 songs I want to talk about from DMX that really means a lot to me. The first is Stop Being Greedy. Yeah, 2 different voices. I can flip that flow. I can get that. And that's Happy DMX. And of course, I can't remember the words right now, but I've been living long enough now. Stop being greedy. Keep it real, partner. Get to the needy. You just touching, so don't make me wait. Provided I'm gonna bite you. That's the play. I mean, DMX was flipping it because he was the kind of nice guy, but then he was the guy who needed to get it by any means necessary. And that presence, second to none. Because that man didn't overshadow himself, but he showed you his duality. Duality is the main thing I'm talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, because with the heart, you got good and bad. With the soul, you have good and bad. And these men showed you that within the greatness of an MC, they captured their humanity flawlessly by showing both sides of their character. Because besides Get At Me, Dog, Slippin' will go down in history as one of the most poignant songs in hip hop history. He even dedicated the last verse to his ex-wife, but his wife at the time, and showed her how no matter what, he's gonna take care of her. I don't know how true he stuck to that, but I tell you this: no matter who he was with, she was always a part of his life. The soul is something that is very deep when it comes to understanding a man, because by definition, the soul is about your immortal beliefs. And DMX always talked about getting close to God, whether it was preaching, whether it was giving people his best, whether it was giving the world something that they knew that there was hope beyond what you see in the streets or what you feel. This man was addicted to drugs and stuff, right? He was in and out of jail. DMX, he said, he fought the devil, and he did all these things to find peace within himself. Tell the truth, man. If a man tries to escape reality through women or drugs, he's not happy. But if a man keeps doing that, but he's talking about God and wanting to be with God and find God and turn his life to God, I don't think he's lying. I think he's asking for help and he's not letting go to the higher purpose that he was here for because he's looking for something higher than what's in front of him. He's looking for the peace that goes beyond understanding, called faith, right? And that right there shows DMX always had a potential for growing, learning, and giving the world his spiritual development through his music. Whether it was Give Me a Sign or Slipping or any of them songs where he's really being introspective about God. Come on, man. This man made a song, either let me fly or give me death. Let my soul rest or take my breath. If I don't fly, I'ma die anyway. Y'all gonna be gone. Y'all gonna live long, but I'll be gone any day. If that's not reflective about the soul and how life takes on a story within itself with y'all got this, but I got this and I have to deal with this, that's deep. Tupac's heart is why hip hop sucks today. DMX soul is why hip hop fails and sucks today. And you wanna know why I say that? The heart is the emotional and physical center, while the soul is the spiritual and metaphysical essence. They work together to shape a person's life, experiences, choices, and overall life. In today's society, where is the heart and soul? Especially in the now with AI, technology, people wearing pianos on their damn back instead of talking about reality. I think DMX and Tupac gave us what Kendrick Lamar wanted to give us in Two Pimp a Butterfly when he talked about the mortal man. Tupac and DMX gave us what all young men needed, which was a gut check, a heart check, and a soul check to figure out, I'm gonna do music, what am I gonna rap about? What's my purpose? Because you couldn't hold poverty over their heads to make them rap about anything. DMX did not sell his soul just to do anything with music. These men were the perfect embodiment of when a man has his heart set on something, he will move like no other thing can stop him to see his goals get done. And when a man, that's Tupac, and DMX is when a man believes, nothing can shatter his belief as he's going to do whatever it is that he wants to. And when the heart and the soul aligns, not only do you have a spiritual beast that can move the world in so many instances of greatness, you have someone who can influence generations and generations and generations to come based off of their words, their deeds, and their actions. And that's what makes hip hop so scary to people out here, is that you artists, when you're out here and you have your heart and your soul and everything as one, and you move on one accord to a greater, higher existence than just what is in front of you, you scare them because you're showing them the potential of how great you are as a man, especially one of color in a world where people don't like you because they look down on you. But don't get me wrong, there's going to be people out here who are going to talk about a fat ass. Hey, big fake breasts, getting money, drugs. You're going to have that. These men did not talk about that. They did. But look at what Tupac gave you with A White Man's World, right? Let me get a DMX album. I want to keep using the same songs like Damien and stuff like that. DMX has one interesting song that I want to go to. That when you go into his discography, you got to give this man credit for so many things. What's one? I said, "Let Me Fly." Let Me Fly is one of the ones. Dang, I'm trying to look for it. I apologize, but even with this new posthumous album that he had, that I really can't get into too much. It's interesting how DMX's music always has a way of making you look within yourself because he went through so much. Flesh in My Flesh, right there, unknown. The title tells you about the spiritual context in which DMX believed in. You know, whether he believed when he wanted to talk to Christ or God, or he wanted you to understand who he is. The song "Ready to Meet Him" comes to mind because you have to find your peace to want to meet God. You have to find your peace to believe what you believe and be solid in meeting your creator. Hip hop doesn't do that today. Hip hop gives you such a false narrative that the heart and the soul means nothing. And it's people like us, me and you, that's going to celebrate the heart and soul to bring it back. You see, unbeknownst to all these media people, because you got people on Hot 97, I know who I'm talking about, no disrespect to him, but he says that these record companies don't want to don't want to sign hip hop no more. They want Afrobeat. But Afro beats ain't giving you the heart and soul of the common man that's not dancing. Hip hop today sucks and fails because the heart of these men and women are not being exposed. On another note, besides DMX and Tupac, look at Lauryn Hill's album. That's a love album. That was the heart and soul put together right there. Being dissed, having a child, finding love, keeping that love, and celebrating love. Think of Nick Grant's new album when he's talking about the things he went through as an adolescent and youth. Look at Jed's album. They were talking about life, and the heart and the soul encompasses life. And that's when hip hop is at its greatest. Not when we're in the club throwing dollars, not when we're shaking ass. Ain't nothing wrong with that because we need to have some fun. But you got to be circumspect and know when to have that fun, when to do these things. Because when it's time to put those things down and you go home and you look in the mirror, not only are you wet and broke, but you got to live with yourself and the choices that you made afterward. Tupac didn't talk about family. DMX talked about children and a wife. DMX didn't really talk about social injustice, but Tupac talked about each one, teach one. He talked about pain. He talked about pouring out a little liquor. He talked about all those things. Yet DMX perfectly talked about dealing with women. He talked about being 10 toes down in them streets. But he also talked about even though you 10 toes down, are you 10 toes down when it comes to God too? I don't want to prolong this conversation because I want to know what you think. My theory is because we don't have somebody who has the heart of a Tupac Shakur or the soul of a DMX, we are losing a very intricate part of hip hop, and that's called realism. Biggie Smalls once said, the Machine Gun Funk about the feeling. This St. Christopher Williams, this for MC got a film. I remember the verse. But even J Electronica, the energy is not familiar. I can't feel you. Just Blaze. We need something realer. Back to Biggie Smalls. I just had the verse in my head when Biggie Smalls said, so you want to be hardcore with your hat to the back. Talk about the gats in your raps. But I don't feel that hardcore. Something that you bring, maybe I'm dreaming. He's telling you like he don't feel it. But when it came to Pac, you could feel it. Blacker the berry, sweeter the juice. I say the darker the skin, and the deeper the roots. Like he's already going into the history of the world right there. DMX gave you his soul. On a negative, a positive. 4, 3, 2, 1. I can't even do the verse because I'm tired. It's late right now. But who in hip hop has taken the heart and soul and made it what they did? I mean, closest probably is Kendrick, right? Or wrong? Because J. Cole has done that too. It's easy to talk about the streets and where you're from, but who's talking about saving the streets and saving the inner man that represents those streets? That's why hip hop fails and sucks today, is because two people are interested in the superficial. Ageism is superficial because as these 90s and 80s MCs are aging, They're giving you, the new hip hop artist, something to look forward to because they're teaching you how to express yourself as you get older and stay in your craft. Don't, oh, they too old. Nobody says rock and roll legends are too old. But our hip hop legends are too old. Get out of here with that bullshit because that means you have no heart and you have no soul. Because now you're not letting the experience of their soul, their life, and the passion they have for their art show through. Nas may be an embodiment of heart and soul through his efforts to work in this hip hop game. But is there somebody who could capture the essence of even him mixed with DMX and Pac and make it better? And I'm not giving this to Nas, I'm giving this to X and Pac. Because when X came into the room, I don't know if any of y'all ever seen DMX live, but when DMX went off, and he would run from back and forth on that stage and then close that show out with that prayer and that song, he was different. I've never seen Tupac live, but I know this for a fact. I've heard that man speak about racial inequality, being poor, social injustice. This man shot police officers, for God's sake. And like I said, being a descendant of the Black Panther Party, political party, not this Marvel shit that people think Marvel made Black Panther for to get rid of the Black Panthers. I can't believe I heard that. But the Black Panther Party for for the healing of the nation, he came from that lineage, and you think that he wasn't passionate about what he said, felt, or thought? I just wish Pac never had passed away or died the way he did. I wish I could have seen Pac get older because I would love to see what Pac would. Somebody said, I think Joe Button or Charlemagne said, I would love to know what Tupac, what a Twitter would be like. I think it would have been awesome. I wonder what Tupac in the social media age would have been, or if he would have leveraged it for something, or where he would have been, where Tupac had kept on rapping, where Tupac had been just a straight up actor like Will Smith. I don't know. I don't know. If DMX survived, what could X had done with his soul and his passion as a 70, 80-year-old man who was really into God and the Bible and faith and the afterlife and conquering Satan? Where would he have been if he stayed alive and was able to teach us through his examples and said, fuck ageism? These men might not have gotten along, or maybe they would have been great friends. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. The one thing about a great, their impact is truly appreciated when they're not here anymore. People made Tupac popular in death, but if you listen to his lyrics, you'll appreciate why he's so appreciated. DMX left this world way too early, but when you hear his compassion, when you feel his volatility in his rhymes, not only do you know DMX was a real one, but his soul made the songs better than what they were, and they were already good. Hip hop today fails because with technology, and falsehoods, and false narratives, and social media, and fakeness, with all that being in the forefront, the heart and soul loses its power. And until we bring it back, will we fully appreciate hip hop? Will we fully appreciate the culture? I can't tell you. But one person who can show us what the heart and soul of hip hop is, besides Kendrick Lamar, is Andre 3000. And when all his flute albums and his piano albums and him saying that he's getting older now, he doesn't know what to rap about, that's a cop out. Because as hip hop grows, we grow too. And your fans want to know what it is you're feeling so that you can share that life experience with them as they grow with you. Something to think about, y'all. But anyway, my name is Karav, and this is Heritage Hip Hop. And thank you for watching the Mike Council on Heritage Hip Hop. This episode is brought to you not only by Heritage Hip Hop, but as a dedication to those who use their hearts and their souls to fight, survive, and be the best men and women they can be. This show is dedicated to Arlette Chavers, Craig Chavers, the old GOAT, Sha Skills, double S Sha Skills, and the wife of Notes 82. Shortly. This episode is dedicated to RIP Tupac Shakur R.I.P. DMX, R.I.P. Tame One, R.I.P. Govmatic. This podcast or episode is dedicated to you who helped make hip hop great by keeping the culture alive. And I want you to think about this. What artist today fully captures the heart and the soul of hip hop? Because without the heart and the soul, we're nothing but a body. And a dead body is a carcass. Is hip hop dying? Are the culture vultures correct? And do people not want hip hop anymore because there's not something they can relate to when it comes to the music? You let me know what you think. Follow Heritage Hip Hop on all social media platforms. Hit me, DM me at Heritage Hip Hop on Instagram. Hit me in the comments. But with the example of heart and soul I gave you with DMX and Tupac, will hip hop ever get that heart and soul back? Will it take a new artist to do it? Or do we have the artists now and they haven't reached that potential yet? You let me know. May the Most High bless you. Peace.